Today, we're exploring the power of resilience and relational intelligence and how they influence event design, leadership, and personal growth. Join me as Sarah Reuter, CEO of Elevate Travel Company and Experiences Elevated Consulting, shares her journey of empowering professionals to thrive in their career and beyond.
Welcome to the Events Demystified podcast, where we demystify the world of in-person, virtual, and hybrid events, AV production, and AI technology by sharing practical tips, tricks, and strategies to help your event succeed. This podcast is brought to you by Treefan Events, a woman-owned boutique event production agency that caters to event professionals, small business owners, and entrepreneurs. We specialize in AV and AI education, integration, automation, and implementation, all based on our Fit for Events framework, which focuses on futuristic AV production, innovative AI technology, thriving audiences, and empowering behind-the-scenes teams. And I'm your host, Anka Platon Treefan, with over 2 decades of hands-on experience in event production, event management, and now AI technologies and cybersecurity.
Well, welcome, friends, to another episode of the Events Demystified podcast, where we demystify the world of events, experiences, and everything in between. I'm your host, Anka Platon Trifan, and today's conversation will demystify a topic pretty close to my heart: resilience, relational intelligence, and elevating the human experience, which very much aligns with my personal mission of building mental and physical resilience through our Fit for Events framework, promoting a fit and mindful lifestyle, and helping event professionals thrive both mentally and physically. But before we get into that, I would love to introduce our amazing guest today. Sarah Reuter is a transformative force in the event and hospitality industry, dedicated to empowering professionals to thrive beyond the spotlight. Since 2015, she has been on a mission to redefine success and foster holistic well-being amidst the high-pressure world of events. With a journey marked by resilience and liberation, Sarah draws from her very own personal experiences to guide others through the unique challenges of their profession, from navigating toxic relationships in her early years to her inspiring triumphs as an entrepreneur and founder of Elevate Travel Co. Sarah's story is one of authenticity and purpose. She's also the creator of the Revive and Thrive program, where she equips event professionals and teams with the tools to transcend post-event stress and embrace what she calls post-event bliss. We're going to learn more about her holistic approach, which integrates elements such as movement, breathwork, meditation, mindset training, interactive rituals, leading the participants of this program on a 6 senses journey that helps them reconnect with themselves and find peace amidst the chaos. More than just a speaker, a coach, and an entrepreneur, Sarah embodies the spirit of transmutation, turning pain into power, chaos into peace, and fear into passion. Her mission is to help others reclaim their power and protect their peace while thriving in the high stress world of events. And with that, let's welcome Sarah in. Sarah, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and just seeing the beginning of like the guests you've had on. I'm like, oh, there's Andrew Roby, there's Julius Solaris, there's Courtney Stanley. And I'm like, just what a great podcast you have and guests that you have come on. I feel very honored.
Thank you. Well, I feel like I would definitely need a redo of the intro bumper, but we're working on that. As of right now, I'm just glad to have you. And before we dive into the heart of our conversation, I love to start with something fun. I know that you're all about helping others thrive through resilience and emotional connection. And I would love to know from you, what's one personal practice that you rely on to stay grounded in the midst of all the work that you do?
Mm. My meditation practice is my anchor to de-stressing in this chaotic and exhilarating industry we call events. It's been my saving grace, and I really resisted sitting still and getting quiet as someone who's go 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 and very action oriented. And I really began to lean into it a couple of years ago, and it's really been life changing for me to incorporate that as far as my daily practice and ritual.
I love that. You've also shared that resilience and relational intelligence are at the core of your work. How did you come to focus on these themes, and how do they influence the way you help clients in the event and hospitality industries? And then I'll have a piggyback question to that, but let's just get the conversation rolling with that.
Yeah, so resilience. I've recoined myself as the resilience queen, and I really believe we can only teach and share what we've experienced in life. It's the life's lessons that a lot of times our challenges and our pain that become our greatest teachers. And
Mhm.
from just a very young childhood, I think I experienced resilience, but not really understanding what it fully was until I became an adult. My journey with resilience began with I'm a child of an alcoholic father, and so
Mhm.
growing up in this unstable environment as a child, where I learned some pretty not so great coping mechanisms such as codependency, and really how to be this peacemaker and fixer and healer,
Mhm.
but in a very misaligned way. And
Mhm.
so this relational intelligence themed in as I began my personal growth journey, because I truly believe that our personal and professional lives are so crossed over and so intertwined. As I began this deep dive on my personal growth many years ago, I realized that the relationship with myself was such a powerful understanding that it allowed me to expand in ways that deepen my relationship with others.
That's beautiful. I will say though, I'm very conflicted about resilience because I have a similar hard childhood hardship growing up. I'm the oldest of 10 in a household that was never quiet. One thing that I wanted when I was a child was just to be alone for a moment, and I never had that. That's how much my introvert was just craving just some quiet, and it was always a madhouse no matter what. And I've had my own coping mechanisms that I've had to learn to realign, as you mentioned, with myself, and that took years of therapy. A lot of bodybuilding
Yeah.
came out of that as well, because it was my way to work through my own trauma in my own way under the barbell, while also there's definitely a lot of benefit to talking to a therapist and having a therapist to walk you through parts of your background and your childhood that are very hard to unpack.
Mhm.
But then the reason why I'm conflicted is because my kids, I see my kids, and the reason why I worked so hard, I mean, I worked my ass off my entire life, is for them to have an easy life. I mean, what parent doesn't want their kid to have an easy life, right?
Right.
But then I also see how fragile they are
Yes.
emotionally, physically, in all the places.
Mhm.
And resilience is one of those things that, as you said, you learn by going through stuff, by going through things.
Mhm.
And I don't know, as a parent, I'm conflicted. I'm like, how can I teach them resilience? I
Mm.
don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to go through the things that I've gone. How can I make this concept or this be part of their DNA without having to do the hard stuff? Because I see how fragile they are, and I see how hard it is for them to just manage even as early preteens, and we're not even in the teens years.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think every generation, every parent probably has that innate wish or dream to, like, okay, my life maybe wasn't so great, or maybe it was great, but hey, I wish it could have been different in these ways. So we're always looking ways to make it better. And so I have a 16-year-old son, and my transparency with him has been a beautiful gift to invite him into the journey of building resilience. And I always tell him, hey, you have an unlimited fund for your life for therapy. However, I've screwed you up. Like what we uncover and unravel in my parenting journey here, unlimited. That's my gift to you, is unlimited therapy, because who knows what's going to come up right down the road. But I hear you. My son used to be really nervous going into a gas station by himself, this independence, this,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if it's social media and that there's so many more eyes on people or what the big difference is, but there's definitely a shift. There's a big shift in this generation, the younger
Mm-hmm.
generation, and this resiliency. And as a parent, I've had to really work on my inner turning the pointing the finger inward to say like, okay, how am I creating this lack of resilience? Where's the helicopter parenting come into play?
Right.
So because my son needs to learn about failure, and he needs to feel pain. And I think that's really going in the deeper dive. It's like feeling the emotions. That's what I missed out on. That's the gap. That is the
Mm-hmm.
biggest gap that I am seeing in our industry and in the world at large. With things are moving so fast,
Mm-hmm.
we don't create the space to feel the feelings and express the emotions, and then it becomes stacked, and then we have a lot of things that come out of that.
That's a good point, and I feel that's why COVID was such a like traumatic experience for a lot of people, because they had to pause and learn to be with themselves.
Yeah.
And in our fast-paced environment of events, you never pause and be with yourself unless you intentionally practice meditation, as you mentioned, or any type of mindfulness where you allow yourself to feel the things. And for me, that was sort of like, oh my gosh, like, do I even like this person? Because now I'm kind of forced to be with her. And I had to make peace with her. I had to relearn, who am I if I'm not the things that I do? I have to learn what defines me and what are the things that I want to be known for if everything that I do disappears, and if all the skill set that I thought I had is no longer, right? And those are hard questions to ask. And to your point earlier about giving kids even the ability to be themselves, more independent, I mean, there's definitely something to be said about that. I mean, I got on an airplane when I was 20 with $100 something in my pocket to literally leave my family, leave everyone that I knew, to get to US, strange country, didn't know a soul, and make a life for myself. Like, who does that in their 20s anymore? I don't know if I would be okay with my son to do that if he was 20, but I see the benefit of, like, for example, we were talking about this internally in our family. I'm like, how about we give him a little bit of leeway and he can go to the store, like get on a bike, go and buy yourself an ice cream from the corner store, like several intersections away, and just give him the ability to figure things out on his own without us constantly being there to provide, to direct, to instruct, to manage, really. And bringing the conversation now to us as event professionals, I'm wondering though, why do you think that resilience and relational intelligence are such an essential part of our success, especially as the industry and the times that we live in are moving fast, right? Like, we don't have the luxury of COVID to be stuck inside and just figure things out in our own head. We're moving just as fast as we were, if nothing, even faster now with AI and technology and the things that are happening so fast.
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I think it's more powerful and impactful now than ever because of the rapid pace and because of the moving on to the next big shiny thing and not taking that little pause to just be human for just a moment before we're off to the next adventure.
Mm.
We're in the events business. Events are all about our relationships and the people and the audiences and the stakeholders. And a lot of times I feel like the planners or the people behind the scenes that are spotlighting all of the people on the stage, they're a little forgotten. And it's kind of this like hidden role. And I think there's such an imbalance. And so I really am passionate about bringing that back into balance because of just my own personal journey of reaching the point of burnout. We also have, you know, a lot of turnover in our industry. And as the younger
Mm.
generation comes up, especially with the lack of resiliency, we have to teach them what this is. And we have to give them the tools to learn how to face challenges head on, learn how to articulate and express their emotions in the relationships they have, whether it's with the suppliers they're partnering with, their boss, their team, their colleagues, their peers, the speakers on stage. Like these are just such basic tools that I think we need to kind of get back to the basics with communication and leadership and feeling our emotions and learning to express them. And just, it takes a little bit of slowing down and some personal reflection and a little bit of humility as well. Like you were saying during COVID, wow, sitting with yourself. That's why people don't meditate, is because, I mean, there's such a myth with meditation, talk about demystifying things. Meditation is not about lack of thought. No one can sit there, maybe a monk that does it 8 hours or 12
Right.
hours a day. But the professional, the busy professional, which is us, I mean, we need something that is realistic and
Yeah.
that works for our busy lifestyle. And so you have to find, I'm always about customizing. I don't have a one size fits all with anything I do in life. It's, things have to really resonate and feel aligned. And so it's like, but meditation has been just this gift, this anchor inside of me that's helped me learn how to protect my peace in the craziness of, because we know that's never going to change, right? Events and this industry are going to continue to be innovation, creativity, fast paced, forward thinking. That is not changing, right? So we're the only things left to really look at as far as how do we adapt and how do we stay sane in this craziness.
Totally. To your point that we don't always know how to do meditation right, because we have this idea in our head that it would be something like hours upon hours where you have to be into this state, and we're like we can barely keep our focus on for like a minute if nothing. I'm wondering, in your own programming, your Revive and Thrive program,
Mhm.
which is an approach to really help event professionals move from this post-event stress and burnout into the post-event bliss, as you call it, can you unpack more how you integrate that practice of meditation, breath work, mindset training to guide people through this journey of holistic well-being in a way that they don't feel like they're so unskilled at it? I remember an event planner was telling me, he's like, "You know what, I tried meditation and I fell asleep every single time. And then I gave up because I felt like it wasn't for me. It's like it was too hard. Like I don't know how to focus my mind and I don't know what to focus my mind on." Do you have steps that you take people through so they feel like they're getting better at it?
Yeah. The biggest thing, and I learned from my meditation teacher, Emily Fletcher, she's based out of New York City. She's trained over 50,000 people how to meditate. And, we meditate really not to get better at meditation, but to be better at life. And I think
Mm,
that once people kind of take that pressure off of like, it doesn't have to look a certain way, it can be very, very sacred and customizable to everyone. But I really found this very simple technique. It's a complex technique that's been simplified into something that doesn't require me to have an app, doesn't require me to have any technology, it doesn't require me to have a certain way I look. It just requires me to carve out space on my calendar for me every day. And then I think once I understood the neuroscience behind it and what was
mhm.
happening internally, the de stressing, the 5 times amount of rest that happens when your brain gets into a different state, when the mind starts to settle down, and letting go of like, so what if I fell asleep? Good. The meditation I practice and teach
Yeah.
and have learned, it's called the lazy man's meditation, the lazy woman's meditation. Sign me up for that, right? Because I'm busy. I need a break. I need to give myself permission to take 20 minutes out of my day to reset. And it's changed my life. And again, I'm not this like drill sergeant on you got to meditate. Like the Revive and Thrive program, it's definitely an invitation and I give little nuggets of it, but I invite people to open themselves to an expansiveness of their own journey. Meditation may not be a good fit for them. They may need more, something more active. they may be too much in a meditative state and they may need to go lift some dumbbells.
For a walk. I call meditation, my weightlifting is my meditation.
Right, right? Like that's a moving meditation. But for someone like me personally, and I think that we
Mhm.
end up attracting those we're really meant to serve. Like that's alignment. I know that I'll be working with people that maybe have a very similar life story or history with trauma, abuse, alcoholism, addiction, overachieve, dependency. These are really
Perfectionism.
perfectionists. Like these are talk about really selling myself here, huh? Um, but
I feel
no,
like you're talking about someone I know.
I mean, I feel like it's probably a good percentage of the
All type A event plan.
okay, control freak, right? Like when we were talking about our kids and the whole helicopter parenting, I've been trying to tell my son how to pump gas. Like I can't even let him figure out how to pump gas and to screw it up, right? Like just come on. Like just yeah. So yeah.
So much to unpack there, but so one of the things that I'm deeply passionate about is something that you mentioned earlier, is about how us as event professionals many times, if not every time, we put ourselves last. And what I'm passionate about is this integration of mental, emotional, physical resilience for event professionals, which very much aligns with my Fit for Events framework, because I believe that the challenges that our industry faces does not mean that just because our environment is stressful, we have to also be stressed out. And I know there's a lot of focus on how burnout is one of the largest challenges that event professionals have. Just recently, I think it was a Freeman report that came out, and it showcased how many event professionals call burnout as one of their main challenges. So how do you see physical and mental resilience playing a role in helping event teams overcome stress and stay balanced, especially during high stakes events and projects?
Yeah, such a great question. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. And it's a little bit of a scary branch. We just returned from IMAX 24.
Right.
And what a great portfolio and visual and picture for our industry. First off, Karina Bauer, the entire IMEX team, hats off to everyone who put together an extraordinary event that was, I think, the highest in attendance maybe ever or in several years. And just, can you imagine planning an event for event professionals? Like, talk about
No,
the
we're
worst,
the worst critics.
horrible. And so, but here to answer your question about all these statistics we're seeing in our industry and how we talk about wellness a lot, and we're adding it in, we're doing better. We are doing better little by little. But I had this visual of the floor plan at IMEX for 2025. And in the very center of the floor plan is the Wellness Inspiration Hub. So right now, it's located way out on the west wing of the floor.
Yeah.
It's a great metaphor of how we're dipping a toe in it, but until we put it at the core of everything we're doing, and until we give people that visual and we really go all in, I feel like it's still going to be off here to the side as a trendy topic. And in order for us to be trendsetters in our amazing industry and to combat burnout, which is not just within our industry, but globally everywhere, we have the ability to change the shape of all events. And I think it starts with making our inspiration hub and wellness literally the hub at the center of the floor.
I was going to add education and wellness in the center. I remember just last week how many steps I ended up doing just because I was constantly between one end of the trade show to the other, because all my appointments were at the other end, and then all the education and the speaking that I was doing, it was completely the other end. And then if you had time in this walking frenzy, maybe you would go and visit the resilience space, which is completely outside as well.
Completely outside in a quiet space. But here's the
It was
reality.
great, yes, but still.
Beautiful. The reality is that there's again this demystified topic of your podcast. The chaos is always going to be around us. put that resilience room in the center and let the noise go loud outside. Our work is within. I really truly believe that, and I think that it would cause more of this shift that many of us who are living the work and doing the work and preaching the work, for it to really be that ripple effect that touches everyone more impactfully and more deeply.
Well, we're going to have to send that memo to the IMAX organizing team. Tahira, I'm looking at you. I know that you had a lot of amazing event
Yeah.
design ideas, and your fingerprints is all over all the wellness and well-being activations that happened this year and the years in the past. But I like that idea. I'm all for it. Is there a petition we can sign, Sarah?
I met her.
Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to the team at Tree Fan Events. We are not just an event planning and production agency. We are focused on integrating innovative AV solutions, AI strategies, and wellness-focused practices through our Fit for Events framework. Whether you're planning live, virtual, or hybrid events, the team at Tree Fan Events is here to provide personalized planning, strategic design, and seamless technology management to ensure everything runs flawlessly. And now, we are offering AI-powered workshops to help you grow your business, build stronger teams, and elevate your events to the next level. If you want to learn more about how the team at Tree Fan Events can help make your event unforgettable, visit treefanevents.com.
I found myself naturally gravitating towards the Inspiration Hub on my little breaks, right? Of course, it's where I want to be. And I was talking to myself. I do that sometimes. And I was talking to myself, trying to figure out, say, like, where am I going next? And Tahira was right there standing around, and she helped me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this woman's so amazing. She's helping me figure out where I'm going next.
I love it.
And we started to talk about the resilience room. Had I not connected with her, I don't think I would have found that resilience room so closely outside the hallway.
Well, Sarah, if you'd have joined our push-up challenge on Wednesday morning, you'd have known what it is because we were right outside of it.
You were, that's where you were outside. I do remember that little area right there. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know.
Well, something that really resonates, I feel like, with both of us is the importance of elevating the human experience, whether through event design, personal growth, mental, physical fitness, emotional intelligence. And you focus on creating emotional connections in your experiences. How do you elevate the senses and create those deep emotional connections in the events that you design? And why is this such an essential part for lasting impact?
I think about just how I live my life, and the people I allow into my space and into the energy, and the people I buy from, the people I choose to work with, clients I choose to work with, suppliers I choose to work with. And that emotional connection, that relationship is paramount to me. The trust, the honesty, and we perceive others through our senses, right? I mean, that's totally, we're sizing people up immediately. We're sizing up space as we walk into it and the flow of the room immediately. And so I feel like a lot of planners maybe have, I have what I call my six senses methodology, and I use it when I'm designing experiences and events.
Mm-hmm.
Go through, we know the five senses: sight, sound, taste, smell, touch. And I go through each of these lanes to figure out, okay, how can we enhance this overarching theme
Mm-hmm.
to get the message across for our audience? Disney does an incredible job of this. I won't ruin it, but if anyone's rode Avatar at Disney, wow, can we just say they have nailed it on every sensory level, every emotional impact level, physical, mental, like,
You're
just
making me so curious now, because definitely this has been on our radar for the kids, but I have not. I love the Avatar series, but it's like, there's a right.
you just go to Disney and do that one experience, you will have had the entire, it would have been
It
worth
would have been worth it, the whole
the whole thing.
expense of it
I
all.
mean, I always say, if I go to any event I go to, whether it's a concert or I'm going for a personal reason or a work professional reason, I want to be moved to tears. I really want to be moved to tears, to connect with myself and to heal, and to just really embrace that joy and passion that is in all of us that we really just want, I feel like, as humans to experience when we're at an event. It's, yes, we need education and knowledge. Knowledge is key and has helped shape me to who I am today. And to intertwine those two of like education and emotional impact and using these our senses to create these wow, surprise and delight moments that
Mhm.
they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be this expensive, extraordinary experience. It can be very simple. I'm getting ready to, I'm one of the breakout speakers at Site Midwest in Kansas City, November 19 to 21. And so I'll be showing the room full of planners and suppliers who come
Mhm.
through what this concept can really be like on a very limited budget. So,
Mhm.
and it's really just teaching people, reminding, we all know the five senses. I'm not teaching anything. I'm just giving some framework around how we can enhance our events and make them more of an emotional impact by elevating the senses. Our sense of smell is the most powerful. And I know that one
Mhm.
is touchy because of a lot of reasons, but think about how, when done well, you can create a sense of warmth, a smell
Yeah.
of warmth in a room. And it can be very subtle, not this overpowering scent that can, some scents can trigger people, right?
Right. Well,
Um,
it can also instantly recall memories, good memories, as long as the memory associated with it is a good memory. So one of my friends that was coming from IMAX was telling me, like, we all had our own adventures coming from IMAX because I guess Las Vegas struggled with on Friday with the air traffic control and Thursday and all that, and how he was in this tiny airplane seat stuck to someone that had this overpowering perfume
mhm.
that in any other situation or case scenario would have been a great perfume because it reminded him of a memory from back home or something associated with something else. But in this instance, that turned out to be not a great a memory because now he was stuck there for like 3 hours as the queue of airplanes to take off was just forever long.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
was just like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't, like if there's a way to breathe in the bag, I would have just tried to do that the whole time.
Yeah. Sense is, it can be go both ways, right? I mean, really, you do have to be careful with that. And music, think about the power of music.
Yeah,
And I walk into so many events and there's no music. There's
they're
no,
dry.
and music is invisible architecture.
Mhm.
I mean, it's extraordinary and it can create
At
this,
the right volume, at the right
the right
volume, though.
volume. Yes, there are so many little tiny details. And you have to be able to read the room. You have to have
Yeah.
that awareness of people and their energy and the responses they're giving without verbally cueing it. So yeah, it's powerful. It's a powerful sensory impact that we can have if executed well.
Yeah. I love that you said that you want to be surprised with elements that really bring you to tears. Now, obviously, you don't want that to be an ongoing every day, every moment moment because you'll be crying all day long. But enough in a day to have that moment of delight to
Yeah.
give you that jolt of joy that you can say today really matters, something really inspired me today, and it was worth pursuing this event and traveling for it and being stuck in travel and sleeping in a hotel without any clothes, change of clothes whatsoever, and borrowing a whatever toothbrush from the from the front office because I'm like, I have nothing in my bag for this.
Yeah.
So, but during that moment, to your point, I actually got to meet someone that was just like me in the same situation. And we had this amazing conversation. And maybe I'll never meet that person ever again because we only crossed paths because of this travel adventure. But it's those moments of delight that you get to meet someone, you get to interfere with and cross paths with another human once in a lifetime and maybe leave an impact. The hope is that you leave a good impact, right? That there is an encounter that will be remembered as a positive encounter, and that can be that moment of delight. And
Yes.
through your personal journey, as you mentioned earlier, from navigating toxic relationships and becoming a successful entrepreneur, I mean, that is obviously such a testament, such a powerful testament to resilience. What would you say was a key turning point for you? And how did that experience shape your approach to life and business, events?
It was probably 3.5 years ago. I've always been someone that's worked on themselves. Self-growth has been
Mm,
important to me since early 20s. But 3.5 years ago, I finally listened to my body. Some of the one of the modules I teach in Revive and Thrive is we have this beautiful tool, an instrument. It's our body, and it carries so much wisdom.
mm,
And a lot of us have turned it off, and we ignore the signs and the symptoms. But thankfully, I had worked on myself, and I finally let go of some of the resistance, and I listened to my body tell me it was time to stop drinking alcohol.
mm.
I loved Kendall Jackson's Chardonnay. I was in a full-time committed relationship with KJ. We slept together many times, many nights.
Share many stories.
We shared so many great times. I have no shame in my game. And I still like, I mean, I'm in my office, I have a full bar of both alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. I'm an entertainer, I'm in hospitality. We have to give choice and allow people to have agency. And so this is no like, but choosing to change my lifestyle, and especially because of my roots with addiction in my family. And I know that I changed the lineage of my family, of my line.
Mm,
My son and I, we have alcoholism on both sides. And so making that conscious choice was so powerful. And it was painful the first year.
mhm.
I had to learn, everything was new to me. I mean, I plan events and parties for a living. I shouldn't say I plan parties. That's kind of a trigger for a lot of us.
Right.
But
Don't put more fire into the
right. But
burning bush.
at some point you kind of have to just accept it and say, yes, we plan amazing parties that change, have the
I mean,
ability.
there are some amazing parties for sure. Yes.
Yes. And so, but it really, my clarity, my purpose has been revealed so much deeper, my clarity,
Mm,
my brain fog. I listened to my body. My body said, Sarah, it's time. You're done. Like it never was, I didn't need liquid courage. In fact, if anything, it disconnected me from my body and others more than it
mm.
connected me. And so I have deeper, more meaningful relationships. In the last 3.5 years, I've grown more personally and professionally than I ever have in my life.
I love that. Did you join at all the Beyond the Bar? There was Wednesday evening, there is this panel, Jimmy Campbell comedy show. And it was, the focus was talking about providing inclusive opportunities for drinkers and non-drinkers alike, but making it more of the norm. And some of the statistic that came out of that, which was quite surprising, is that 40% of adults actually have chosen not to drink anymore. And there's even a higher statistics of Gen Zers and younger generation that have never consumed alcohol as a choice, which it's so different from what we grew up with. Like, I grew up in Romania, and alcoholism as a way of, as a coping mechanism, was very much a standard method of abusing your body, basically. And it went generational through generations, and it's very hard, as you mentioned, to make that cut and say no more and make a different choice for the sake of myself, choosing myself, but also for the sake of my children and my lineage, right? And it was just very interesting to see, to be part of that conversation. And if you've never had alcohol in your life, you're very used to not be included in places and spaces, because you're just, that's just not something that either you're used to or even like wanting to, right? But
Right.
if you have for a while had that being part of your practice, and then you decide to make the choice to not do it, then having no choices, that's when it hurts more, because you know what you're missing. And now, just because somebody offers you lemonade or a Coke, it doesn't necessarily fit the bill,
Yeah.
because there's not a lot of options. And I was with David of Return on Wellness, and we were going around the trade show, and we're looking for how many booths were offering mocktails.
Mhm.
And I think 6 or 7 were saying that they had this amazing display of both alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. And out of all of those, we tried them all. I didn't try them all, but he did. I was just there for
Mhm.
support and camera coverage. It was just one that could say truthfully that they had a mocktail that it was not sugary and was feeding the bill. Everything else was some version of lemonade, of like lemonade this or strawberry this or something like that, like which is basically like juice. Right? So it's very interesting to see how the conversation now it's become a topic, which up until now, I don't think that made the topic of a panel to talk about how important is to offer inclusive options for those that call themselves sober and for those that even if they do consume alcohol they still want to have the option not to whenever they feel like it. So to your point, I think it's important to have those stories, to be able open to share them, and then that leads to change, that leads to awareness and then change.
Yes. Yes. And I think we're doing better. It's still very new. I mean, even the alcohol brands are testing the market and
Mhm.
figuring out what's selling and what's not. And the sugar content is definitely something.
We're still working on.
Oh, I think that's what I became so much more aware of after I stopped drinking. My hangovers were very much very much related to the sugar that I wasn't
Mm,
receiving
yeah,
anymore. And so that was the withdrawal that I went through. It wasn't I necessarily the alcohol or the need to be drunk, but it was the
right.
sugar.
Yeah.
And so luckily I was a bartender in my early days of just starting out after college and working several jobs to make ends meet. And you got to get creative. Even if you don't have a non-alcoholic brand on the bar, there's always soda and tonic water, and you can add a little splash of
That's right.
cranberry and a lime, and boom, you're right there in the mix of the social beachy
Exactly.
cocktail that is low sugar content and inexpensive as well, right? I mean,
During some of my prep days, because I've done plenty of prep before my competitions during crazy events like IMAX or other conferences, I love margaritas, but I can't have margaritas during prep because there's like so much carbs in there. So I will literally have like sparkling water or soda water with lime and then just the salt rim
yeah,
on. It almost tastes like
it does. I mean, my friends joke around now because they were really worried when I stopped drinking because they thought they were losing fun, Sarah, but little did they know she got a little wilder without the alcohol. Um, so they didn't lose that part of me, but they joke and they're like, "Are you buzzed? Are you sure you're not buzzed? Like I'm having the placebo. I swear there's
Yeah,
something."
you don't have to have alcohol to actually have a good time. 30 something years of my life, I had no alcohol. And I swear to God, I had just as much fun as I am having now. So it's like, no, you don't have to associate one thing with the other. As we move forward into our conversation, because that's definitely a topic that could take a lot of space and a lot of more conversation around it. As we look to the future of event design and personal growth, and I love that you're into personal growth. I feel like one thing that will never change about me is growth, like wanting to grow, curious, staying curious, and wanting to just learn more and more. What trends or shifts do you see emerging in our industry? How can event professionals prepare themselves both physically, emotionally, mentally to stay ahead of the curve while maintaining this balance and well-being that we try to get better at?
Yeah. Yes, we do. It takes me back to a time of this was when I was business partners with two other women. We were growing a business starting in 2008 to 2015 was like my almost 8-year run there. And we were getting ready to enter our peak season, our busy season. And I remember
Mhm.
saying, okay, I'm going to book a yoga class for all of us because I know that if we don't do this now in our busiest time frame, we're not going to do it when we're free.
Right.
So my point being is like, if you're in that space of like, I am just maxed out, it's almost like it's the energy behind it is like book the thing, like create the space and the time for that thing, whether it's yoga, whether it's lifting weights, whether it's a nap, whatever it is, a walk outside, sitting outdoors for 20 minutes, creating that space is really, really so vital. And as far as the trend goes, I really I really know and see that AI is obviously just going to take us to a whole other planet. Maybe not even planet, but maybe like galaxy. How about that? But I hear so much fear-based talked around AI.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, let's educate ourselves. Number one, let's educate yourself. Knowledge is power.
Yes.
And be curious. Show up to places where there are people offering free master classes and educating you about what's really going on and what their world is. I mean, AI is definitely one of your topics, right, as far as technology goes. But I really see AI being such a big trend, and then okay, how does that replace the human, right? And so
Hmm.
I really think we're going to see this shift because it is going to be jobs that are going to be needed and created in the future don't even exist yet.
You're right.
And so again, event professionals and just in the job market period, people are going to have to learn new skills.
Yes.
And then what's going to be constant are our soft skills,
Mm.
our human kindness,
Creativity, authenticity,
our,
genuinity. It's like you preach out of one of my workshops, Sarah.
yes, it's like that's never going to go away. Let AI do its thing. Let's shape it. Let's give it the mind of
Yeah.
compassion. Let's give it creativity, innovation. Let's let it help us free up time to go and do the thing we really want to do.
Absolutely. I love that. And I also love what you just said earlier about how in order to especially when we are our busiest, a lot of people complain, well, I don't have the energy to do all the things. I don't have the energy to work out, without realizing that it is through that one movement, that one activity, that you generate more energy for yourself. And that's one thing that is never like computed in my mind, because I'm like, the reason why I have so much energy is because I make it a priority. That's the engine, the fuels this machine.
Yeah.
How could I say no? How could I not do this one thing that gives me more energy versus trying to fit it in my schedule because that's the last thing on my list, right? If you start with it as being so important, because it's almost like food is fuel, right? It's like you have to feed your body in order to be able to go through the day, through the motions, and be able to do all the steps and do and just expose yourself to all the things that you need to do as a person and to survive, basically, to allow your body to thrive.
Mhm.
If you didn't feed yourself and you just went on for days, that's kind of like, to me, equal with this idea of like, I don't have energy. That's because you didn't allow your body to generate it through the means of movement,
Yeah.
of going for a walk, doing a yoga session, a mindfulness session, a lift, whatever it is that works for you.
Yeah.
So I love that you highlighted that. That's so important.
Yes.
Now, before we wrap up, Sarah, what's one last piece of advice that you like to share with our listeners about cultivating resilience, both in their personal and professional lives, or any other last thought that you feel like it's worth mentioning?
Mm. I think the best advice, at least that I've experienced, is that when I am resistant, when I feel that anything that comes up in my life or repeated patterns, challenges that keep presenting the similar challenges that keep showing up in my life, those are my signs and cues to lean in when really we
Mm,
intuitively want to lean out. Or but that is such a cue for me to lean into that and be curious and stay curious, because it's been my greatest teacher. My resistance has definitely been my greatest teacher. And the other thing is just to go all in on you. Like, I can't stress that enough, that especially in our industry, we are people pleasers by default. We serve from the heart. Most of us are service, it's hospitality. We just want people to be happy and belong and feel loved and be on this journey. And we've gotten so in the pattern of putting ourselves last that it almost feels selfish to put yourself first. And I really think it's the most powerful thing we can do. From my own personal journey, it's elevated everything I've done with the clients I get to serve. It's made their events even better. The energy, my mindset and the energy that I bring into the room day of execution has the power to make or break the entire experience. I mean, I don't know if that sounds a little too woo woo, but what I'm saying is that when I go into a program and we're working with all of these players, think about how many partners we have to make an event come off successful.
Mhm.
When I'm leading a team, my energy, my mindset, and how much I have put myself first in so many situations allows me to really protect this peace and stay at this very calm, middle of the road state of being, so that when the chaos comes in, when the flights are delayed, when the perfume's too much, when the temperature's not right, I can handle it with such grace and ease, and it doesn't rattle my chains, and it's just this easy flow. And the resistance that I once ran from is right there and facing it head on, and it's just this beautiful experience instead of this disempowering and uncomfortable situation. So go all in on you. Just invest in yourself, invest in your mental and physical and emotional health. It's really one of the most powerful things that can help you in your career and help you with all of your relationships.
I love that. I always say, I talk about positive stress and negative stress. And if I put myself under positive stress, which is basically under the barbell, lifting heavy, pushing hard, being uncomfortable within that time frame, because it's not easy when you deadlift hundreds of pounds and you squat beyond your body weight. That's positive stress because that builds resilience within me. So when the negative stress happens, because it will happen, I
Mhm.
have such a higher capacity to
Mhm.
embrace that. It's like you said, lean into the uncomfortable, go all in, because it only makes you a better person on the other side of when really the shit will hit the fan, because it will happen. There's no question about it. One way or another, one point it will happen, but
Yes.
you're gonna be way more prepared, and you'll have the tools necessary to deal with it mentally, physically, emotionally, and all the things. Now, Sarah, where can our listeners go to learn more about your Revive and Thrive, your coaching, your incredible experiences that you talked about that you create?
Thank you. So I love playing on LinkedIn. So Sarah Reuter, find me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of content there. I do videos. I twirl my baton. I just have fun. I show up as me, authentic and real, because I
I
want
love
to
it.
connect with people that I'm really truly meant to serve. And the Revive and Thrive. So on LinkedIn is where you can find me. ElevateTravelCo.com is my website, but we're rebranding. And so LinkedIn is probably the best place.
Mhm. Well, definitely stay connected with Sarah on LinkedIn, with everything that she's doing. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your insights and journeying with us today, and for just being open to having this conversation. Not an easy conversation by all means. It's actually very different than some of the conversations that I usually have, which are more tactical and more to the point. But I love that we got into some of the hard talk and sharing so much about your experience and your journey.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to explore ways to thrive in the event industry, mentally, physically, emotionally. And I'll see you next time on Events Demystified podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Events Demystified podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with other professionals like yourself. If you're interested in learning more about TreeFan events, including our future AI education talks and workshops, or to see how we can support your next event, book a free 20-minute consultation through the link in the episode notes. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and social media for updates on future episodes, industry insights, AI news and tips, and more. And if you have any topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out.